Königssee in Bavaria, the oldest artificial ice track on the planet, is the venue for race 6 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. And what a fabulous location for sliding. What a great day as well. Hello everybody, welcome to Königssee. I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me, delighted to welcome to the booth Kendall Westenberg from the USA. Kendall, you slid on the track just a couple of hours ago. Tell us what we're going to see in today's race.
Yeah, Königssee is a fun track and you can see a little of everything. The race won't be decided in the first heat. Anybody can jump, and you saw a lot of that in the women's race. This track here has one of the shorter start ramps on tour. So quick, steep, get on, come into one of the sections you're going to see people have trouble with right out the gates out of these grooves here. Dropping into curve 1, just trying to relax and find some rhythm in this track headed into the S turns. The S turns are these next 4 turns that go back and forth, trying to find flow through S1, up into S2, around S3, and then you got to regroup in S4, kind of find some stability in the strats and the sled so you can get through bend away. As you're coming through bend away, you're headed into Jenner, which is your setup into Kreisel. If you can push speed through Kreisel, you're going to have an easier time through the bottom part of the track. Because then you come out into the chicane, or some people call them the doodles, and into the bottom section of the track. If you're carrying speed, this becomes a lot easier, simpler. It goes the way you want it to. So you either pay here or you're accelerating here, depending on how your Kreisel and chicane went.
Uphill from Echo all the way to the line. We've seen races won and lost in those final couple of corners that look so easy, but uphill, that's where it all pays off. So that is the Königssee track, 1,300 odd meters, but it is very much a driver's paradise. Martin Viesturs has won here before, so too has Alexander Chechikov. This is one of the tracks on tour that Korea's Sun Bin-young has never won on. In fact, he's barely been in the medals here, so maybe this is a little bit of a bugbear for him. He lies 3rd in our World Cup standings. Last year's race winner, 4th in the World Cup standings, Axel Jung of Germany. We had a German 1-2 in your women's race. It's going to be a little more difficult for them. Martin Viesturs struggled in training. Alex Gassner knows this track well, but you've got to look at maybe even Felix Kaiser, a junior world champion on this track. He's from Königssee in Bavaria, and that knowledge, that experience really helps you here.
Yeah, definitely. What you've seen in training all week is the Germans definitely know this track. So they're always going to be a threat in the German track specifically, but Königssee, they've had a good week of training, so we'll see how they do out here today.
Well, we've got 30 sleds in our field, so it is a big, packed field of talent, but only the fast 20 go through. We always talk about the really close battles in the 5 to 15 group in most races, but that's going to be all the way down the order here. Trying to make the cut, a third of our athletes are going home. Half the field are potentially in that zone, aren't they?
Right, yeah. It's going to be pretty cutthroat there at the bottom to see who makes it and doesn't. First up, we got Jared Firestone, though.
Race 6 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. We're in Königssee, Bavaria. Martin Haven and US slider Kendall Westenberg watching Israel's Jared Firestone getting us underway, the first of 30 sleds.
Yeah, Jared's got a pretty competitive push. I think he pushed somewhere in the top 15 last week, so that definitely helps, obviously, in sliding to get the momentum going.
4.78 start record is a 4.53. That is a competitive start. Now, it's not like Innsbruck here where the start is so much, but if you don't start, you have to fight hard somewhere else.
Yep.
Now, we saw in the women's race, the straight here really skiddy, a little less perhaps for the men.
Yeah, we'll see how the ice holds up. Run 1 and run 2 are definitely different ice textures for us a little bit ago.
Clatters the chicane, really a big hit. And that takes so much speed out where you need it most.
Yeah, 111 at the bottom. Like I said, this is a section where you kind of pay for having dropped speed earlier in the run.
Oh, and a huge skid in the final corner.
Not going to help either.
52.02. First season on World Cup for the 29-year-old from Hollywood in Florida. His 2nd ever World Cup race. This is only the 4th different track he's slid on as well, so really pretty limited experience of tracks outside North America.
Yeah, you know, he did an okay job putting it together there. Tough with the skid and bend away to get your your head back right for Kreisel.
Yeah, that's not comfortable either, is it?
No, it's not the fun way through.
I think it hurts as much as it looks like it hurts. Well, you've got to get the experience, and there's only one way to gain experience. There are no simulators. You can't rehearse this. The only way to get ice time is the hard way. All right, next up, Sebastian Inash from Romania, another young slider, just 21 years old, his third World Cup start. Now, he has got more knowledge of the track, raced here in the European Cup in December. He also did Junior Worlds here in February last year.
Yeah, appears to be potentially skidding a little bit there, so we'll see what his sled wants to do through bend away.
Now, with extra weight on the sled, the men tend to be heavier than the female sliders. Does that give them more control anyway?
You know, it's hard to say. I've only slid with the weight I have on the sled, but it definitely changes the variables and the lines through the corners a little bit.
Well, he's got 2600s up, and that gap will grow because he didn't lose so much speed in the bend away. 116 kilometers an hour. That's 5 Ks up on Jared Firestone. So Sebastian Inash across the line, 50.95, and that may well be enough to make it into the second heat. Might be calling that a little early, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, we have, what, 10 that aren't going to make it?
Yeah. 28 sleds still to go. I may have nailed my colours the most, but that actually looked like quite a neat run.
It was, yeah, and a 50.95 is definitely respectable.
So exit here of S4, it's impossible almost to get down here without hitting the wall at least once.
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone's intention there is to take the tap about halfway down and redirect yourself headed into Jenner.
So Sebastian Inash and Romania with the lead at the moment. Third of our 30 sleds from Norway, Alex Hansen. Chatted to his dad yesterday in training. His dad's here, his mum's here as well. His brother and Alex's girlfriend also at the track. 32 years old. Had hip surgery in the summer, and his start, which was so strong before, has suffered as a result. He's still not fully fit.
Yeah, we'll see what he gets out of here today. 471, still respectable.
Yeah.
Fastest of the 3 off so far. Look to see him settle in on the sled and carry this through the S's.
21st World Cup start. Again, he's looking good onto the bend away, just that one tap.
It's so hard when the ice is hard like this to stick it through bend away.
109.4, Sebastian Inash was 111 at that stage.
Sneaks it through the chicane there.
Second on the split times. How close will he be at the line to our race leader?
Looking good there.
3500's back. That speed is really bleeding away. 104 and half a second back at the line. There is Kristen Bromley. It's a Bromley tech sled. Kristen helping with the sled setup and with the coaching.
Yeah, and the outrun's pretty fast today as well. We weren't having a problem stopping earlier in the week, but
yeah, everything is, isn't it? They're just flying through, and of course, the only brakes you've got are the toes of your shoes. Right. So you want to, you know, $350 a pair or whatever. You want to preserve them.
Yeah. Yeah, bend away here is just a little bit tricky. You see him try and get to the right. Slider's right there, and just does a little too much.
It's that second hit then through Jenner and setting up for the 3 pressure Kreisel. That third pressure comes late, doesn't it, as well?
It does.
Okay, now with our 10th place slider in the World Cup standings, Gungwang Chang of China, 17th World Cup now for this 24-year-old. The first Chinese slider to make World Cup standard. Career best is a bronze medal in Lake Placid, which he took this season. 472. He's got good knowledge of this track as well, relatively good. He's raced here in Intercontinental Cup, in Europa Cup, and he did the Worlds here in 2017.
Yeah, I've seen him get pretty proficient pretty quickly for a skeleton athlete. He's had some solid results. I know he took an 8th, I believe, in Lake Placid last season, so catching on really quickly, and this is one of the tracks where if you can get comfortable, you can have a pretty good result as well.
Oh, that's not bad. Down through the labyrinth, 3/10 up. He had the best speed into the Kreisel. He's got the best speed at the bottom as well. Half a second up, that will put him into the leader's box at the end of the run. So 109.9 Ks down at the bottom of the track. Philly Schneider on the right, he's the man who builds the sleds that so many athletes use, and helping with the setup here for the Chinese athletes as well as with their coaching. A very unique feel to a Schneider sled. Most sled manufacturers have a different way of going about things to everybody else.
Yeah, I'm a Bromley slider myself, so the Schneiders feel pretty stiff to me, but definitely quick sleds.
Big early hit, he brought it down a little early out of S4 and a long skid down into Jena, but he has set a 50.29 mark.
Yeah, we'll see how that holds up as we get through these top 10 athletes.
Yellow jersey of our World Cup points leader next up, Martin Stukurs of Latvia. Well, there are 3 previous race winners from the last 13 seasons in the field. Martin Stukurs has won 7. Alexander Chetikov 2, Axel Jung 1 of those races. But I was talking to Matthias Guggenberger there at the top of the track before the women's race. He said Martins has been a little lost all week. He's trying a new sled, new since the European campaign got underway, and they appear to be confusing themselves. However, race day brings out different things.
Yeah, and he's still Martin Stukurs on top of the sled, so let's see what he does here.
Absolutely, it's like Pete Sampras. He's been kind of fiddling around with the new, he's still Pete Sampras. Yeah. 1:12.4. Well, that's the same speed as Gung.
A little early under there.
He's crashed out of race leads in the labyrinth before. I mean, this is one of the tracks that is so hard to drive. Not as quick as the Chinese slider either. And that's not only an impressive run from Gung Wenchang of China, but an indication that maybe Gugi was right and that they still don't quite have the race set up for this track. Won last week in Innsbruck, his first win in an entire season of World Cup sliding, although he did win the World Championships in between. But it was his first World Cup track win since Innsbruck last year. And his last win here was the 2017 Worlds.
Yeah, that's a good one to win, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just takes a tap there coming out of Kreisel, but manages to fix it pretty smoothly through the chicane.
Yeah. So, Martin Stukurs lies 1100ths off the lead at the moment, and only 5 sleds have gone. Is our World Cup leader going to claim a second straight win? Gung Wenchang of China is our race leader. Race 6, the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. Local hero Felix Kaisinger at the line here, Königssee, Bavaria, the junior world champion, which he won on this track, his home track in February. Martin Haven and Kendall Wessenberg watching the action with you.
I love watching Kaisi at the block. He makes me fired up, makes me feel like I'm about to go slide.
Wow, 4:63, that's a big start. Anyone who outstarts Martin Stukurs is going well. He's like a caged tiger, isn't he? And then he's unleashed at the top of the track.
Yeah, it's awesome to watch.
Went to school at the nearby Christopher Schuler, as so many Bavarian sliders have. And he knows this track inside out.
Yeah, putting on a clinic here through the top section, carrying speed into Kreisel.
1:12.5, quicker than anybody so far by a whisker. But even the local boy, like the German girls in the first heat of your race, not getting it all right. And Gung, 3.5 kilometers an hour quicker. He's not going to be the leader at the line. He's not going to be second. He's third, 33 hundredths back.
Yeah, really nice top of the track through Bendaway there, and then that Kreisel section that we were talking about earlier. It's definitely a make or break to your speed and thus your time.
The body language tells you all you need to know there, doesn't it?
Yeah, this isn't a fun way to do it. You know, you're going late into that first kink and then late into the second. Makes it tough to get into Kielstein there.
Yeah, and you just get thrown around. That's 100 kilos of athlete and sled just being bounced around like a tennis ball. So Kaisinger not with the big smile on his face that he was hoping for. Well, there's our current leader, Gongwen Chang of China. Looks like he is highly likely to make the race. Now, what about this man? 45th World Cup of Yoon Sung-bin's career, our reigning Olympic champion, still just 25 years old, lacking a decade of experience compared to the likes of Dukos and Tretyakov, but lacking nothing in terms of pace.
Pretty clean out of the groove there, just about as good as it's been done all day.
Well, after so many of the female siders got pushed sideways, the men are well aware of that, aren't they?
Yeah, and earlier you saw a couple of them even choose to take the left groove, which hasn't happened much this week.
There's the tap he wants, avoids the others, he doesn't. Good looking run so far from Yoon.
112.8, fastest speed into Kreisel. Being pretty free with it there.
Nails the landing right down the middle. You see?
That's beautiful.
How hard can it be?
That easy, right?
Yeah, when it flows like that, you must feel so much speed at the bottom.
Yeah, again, the fastest coming through the bottom here.
Yeah, 109.7 at the line and a new track record. There's Richard Bromley, the sled builder. That is a fantastic run from Sun Bin-young. Beats the time set by Alexander Gassner back in February 2017 in the World Championships. Well, Yoon might have had a patchy season so far, but he's firing now.
Yeah, patchy season. Where the worst is a 7th. You'll take it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, won by 400s in Winterberg, and he said, I don't care, I won.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
But look at that, you see.
Yeah.
And this is, we're talking hundreds of a second here to get that steer off the Kreisel, straight down the middle of the tubes, and then it just looks like the most comfortable thing on the planet.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The tolerance is pretty wide on where you can sneak it out, but carrying speed is a different story. Trying to get that exact is tough.
Alexander Tretyakov of Russia. And Alex with victory in La Plana and the second race in Lake Placid. Didn't win last week, wins every other week, so this could be his week. 4:58 getaway. Start record is his, 4:53 from the last race we held here. Tiniest of touches, that's a good looking bend away. Gaps are tiny, 1:13, quicker than anybody, but was he too wavy in the Kreisel?
Not too bad through the chicane.
800 of a second, very close. 2 kilometers down on Yundo. He's going to drop behind and will be in second at the line by 1700s.
Yeah, Sung-bin's ability to slide it through the chicane like he did helps him carry that speed.
Yeah, I'm sure when we see the replays of him coming off the Kreisel, maybe just carving it down a little hard and getting a skid going, but Tretyakov with so much experience on this track. Been racing this track for over 15 years. Big difference there, the high and the low points in the Kreisel.
Yeah, and then you'll see there's that wide tolerance I was talking about, but the difference in where the sled is headed when Sun-bin came out versus where Tretch is coming out.
Yeah, Tretyakov having to steer hard away from that left-hand wall in the first part of the chicane. And again, a little flop there at the end. So Sun Bin-young leads from Alexander Tretyakov and Gongwen Chang of China. 8 down, 22 to go. And next up is Great Britain's Marcus Wyatt. 18th World Cup place for him. In the last race that we had here, he was in 12th spot. Finished in 4th last week.
Ties Sun-bin out of the grooves there.
He's had the last World Cup here and one other Europa Cup race here, so not long on experience.
No, but putting it together nicely.
Ooh, hey, you're picking up this curse the commentator thing right away.
Shoot. Sorry, Marcus.
That's all right. Well, he and Craig Thompson had a great weekend, 4th and 6th last week in Innsbruck. Craig is racing in Lake Placid this weekend in the Intercontinental Cup. Marcus drifting out to 6th position at the moment. This will be ahead of Sebastian Enash of Romania. Behind Felix Kaisinger. Kaisinger 6th at the line. 5th at the line, Marcus is in 6th position. 7,800s back.
Yeah, we talked about Kreisel being the tricky part to carry the speed, but you have to have the speed going in as well, and I think Bendaway just got him a little bit there.
Well, and that's the thing about this track. It's short, but there are so many traps.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun to watch, I think.
And fun, stroke very much not fun to race, depending.
Depending, yeah, which way it goes for you.
Yeah, that might have been a not fun run for Marcus Wyatt.
Yeah.
And again, we talk about it with everybody, ice time so critical, and that's why the oldest guys in the sport are still the best. There's your 3 Germans on the left in the orange hat. Tina Hermann, our race winner. Jacqueline Lurling on the right, who was 2nd. Alexander Gassner, just 30 years old. Last race here, he was in 6th position, but his best here, a bronze medal. That was in the December race in 2017, before the World Championships the following February.
See him fight out of the grooves a little bit there.
You still have to steer out of those grooves, even after the women's race. I can't believe they haven't been straightened up a bit.
Yeah, they've been a little tricky all week. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Floating through the S's, nice run onto the Bendaway, a little harder hit than he would have liked.
Fighting to keep it straight there, but sneaks it through.
1:11.9, decent speed. Tretyakov at 1:13 there. There you go, that's right down the pipe. So what does he do? He was 3,800s behind coming out the Kreisel. How close can he get? 1:17.7, second fastest. Good speed. Yeah, Gassner's track record has been beaten, but a 50.48 from him. So he recovered some of his composure. He was 9th at the start, drove himself into 5th. And there's a lot to tidy up there. Well, this is where the speed goes away. Getting sideways with rounded runners still slows you down.
Yep, we still have those knives in the back that'll cut ice and not the way you want to go.
Yeah. Just had a nice smooth run, little skiddy, but everybody is. The track is so fast and hard. It's been really quite cold overnight the last few nights. Sun Minyoung Korea, our race leader, from Alexander Tretyakov and Gungwen Chang of China. We have 10 down, 20 to go.
Another German at the line.
Yeah, winner last time out, Axel Jung. 4th in the World Cup standings, and with 1 win under his belt. Won the season opener in Lake Placid, promised much. Hasn't been able really to capture that. Just 1 podium since 3rd place in Winterberg. But his focus, Kendall Wessenberg, the final race weekend of the season and his home World Championships in Altenburg.
Yeah, that's the dream, right? Home World Championships. But we'll see if Axel can get it back on track this week. He knows Königssee just as well as anybody, so he's going to find some speed here.
And he's got this long, fluid sliding style, but a tap left again, just pulled it down a little too hard out of S4. Tap dancing down the Bendaway. Well, 6th fastest start, still in 6th on the splits.
Solid exit of Kreisel. Chicane, see if he can find some speed here at the bottom.
Sneaks through, 1:17.7, not as quick as the fastest. Sun Minyoung and Gungwen Chang of China, 1:08.7, getting there. How far behind at the line? 4 tenths. Top 3 in the women's race were covered by 900s, and that's where the medals were decided. Not sure 4 tenths is going to have a shout.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Königssee, anything can happen
Well,
between runs, but 4 tenths is definitely a solid gap.
Well, it is a driver's track. We saw in the second heat of the women's race, a lot of sliders making big improvements, but he can't guarantee it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the ice does as the sun goes down here.
Him holding his line there, steering up with the head, just leaning that fraction and trying to guide the sled with his head through the air. And that speed, that has as much an effect as anything else does. Well, almost as many times on the podium here as Martin's Ducours has been his brother Thomas. In fact, there have been a number of races where Thomas has been the only Ducours on the podium here in Königssee. Let's see what he can produce this weekend. He has been training slightly more comfortably than his brother, and a 4.74 is not a bad start. $1,300 back at the start, but these two have got so much experience, and look at that nice run onto the bend away. What about the speed? 112.2 to 113 of Tretyakov. A little too much control.
Nice out of Kreisel there.
Yeah. 3/10 back. Up to 7th. 117.3 to 118.5. Top 6 run maybe. And across the line, no, only 7th place, 50.55. Alex Gassner is 700s in front. Brothers Martin is
1500s?
1500s in front. Okay, so we may end up with a Ducours-free podium, the last one of which would have been, 2017, Tretyakov, Yun and Gassner. Well, of those, Yun and Tretyakov are in the hunt. Don't think Alex Gassner is.
Yeah, he's about a half second back right now, so.
And Thomas nails this pretty well.
Nice exit. I think he just gets a little hung up on that second part of chicane.
Thomas Ducours, 35 years old now, has been sliding more than half his life. Started at the age of 16. Kim Ji-soo of Korea coming on strong this season. Only his 12th World Cup start, his best 5th place in Innsbruck. He trained here in 2018 in the Europa Cup, but did not race. So ice time here, very limited.
Yeah, GC has been putting together a great second half of the last 3 races after Christmas.
Interesting, he's now getting to the level that he had on home ice in Pyeongchang, where he was 6th in the Olympic Games. Now he's a continual medal challenger.
Yeah, it's been cool to see him continually contest for those podiums.
Head rocking side to side there, sounds like he's still listening to the track music. 111.9, decent speed, but not the fastest. 2/10 back though. This should be another top 6 run from Kim Ji-soo, 2 kilometers down on teammate Yun. And at the line as well, he will be in 7th place, just behind Alexander Gassner by 600ths. So again, we're seeing that 5 to 15 battle shape up. Gassner 800s behind Martins Ducours in 5th, then 6 back to Ji-soo Kim, 1 back to Thomas Ducours, and there'll be a few more racked up in there again before the end of this heat. Watch the ice break away here as he loads. Huge lump of ice comes out of the groove.
Yeah, and you see the struggle with the exit of the grooves right now.
Tiniest of nudges there, just gets nudged away by the fillet. Trying to relax as you plunge down out of that Kreisel with just a sheer wall of ice in front of you. I'm really still not sure how you do that. Helmet off, helmet back on again now for our 3rd Korean slider, Young Seung-gui. 20 years old, 6th World Cup start for this young man. The legendary Katsuhiro Koshi of Japan helping with their sliding coaching. Between he and Richard Bromley, they are bringing these guys on really fast.
Yeah, he also seems to be having a pretty solid season.
Again, last time here in 2018, did the training, didn't do the race.
Looking really comfortable through those S's. Struggling a bit through bend away. See if he can Push some of that through Kreisel. 110 speed though.
2 top 10 finishes so far in his World Cup career, 9th in Winterberg and in Innsbruck. And from 4th fastest start out to 8th place. Will this be a top 10 run by the end of it? Just drifting out. 11th place, maybe down to 12th at the line. Little rocky in the final corner as well. And how far behind? 500s behind Marcus Wyatt in 10th.
I always think it's funny when they're waving at you to stop. We're trying.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no brakes on this thing.
Well, at least here the outrun is a little safer than Innsbruck last week, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The S-curves are all about keeping that flowing momentum, aren't they? Let the sled take the height if it wants to.
Yeah, exactly. That, and then don't get too caught up with the flowing when you go into S4.
Yeah.
You gotta be back on it there. I always thought a full track of S's would be a good time, but if you got off, it would be a nightmare.
There'd be a few people puking at the bottom, I think. So, next up is Russia's Nikita Chegabov, and the Russian male athletes, like the females, have been suffering with some kind of nasty chest infection. 24 years old, 4 consecutive Junior World Championships before the one here in February. 4:71 start. Still not entirely sure he's as fit as he ought to be. He should be maybe a 10th quicker than that at the start.
Yeah, and a bit rough through those S's there. Not quite the flowing line you're going for.
One career World Cup win, 8 medals, including the World Championships here in 2017. He finished in the bronze. Not a bad-looking run, but not troubling the top 10 at the moment. Again, just really not swinging at all properly this year.
Yeah, I managed to bring it back a little bit out of Kreisel, but
it's not the Chegabov we're used to seeing.
no, definitely not.
You know, he was the silver medalist in the World Championships last year. He was the silver medalist in the Olympics the year before. And he is not looking like he's going to take, well, maybe even a top 6 this year, the current form. Keeps that last pressure low.
You see him looking to see where he's coming out there of Kreisel. Takes the tap, and then that's tough to get it through the second part of chicane there. Does an okay job recovering that, though.
Not a bad-looking labyrinth, but by that stage, it was happening a bit less quickly than for some of the others. Sung Min Yoon, Alexander Chechikov, Gungwen Chang, still the top 3 as we are halfway through the first heat. Race 6 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. 15 down, 15 to come, 5 places left in the race. Vladislav Iraskevich been training well here, the 20-year-old. LaPlania, his best World Cup result with an 8th place finish. 7th here in the Junior Worlds, and he also did the World Championships in 2017 on this track. And he, coming from weightlifting and strongman, has been getting gradually quicker and quicker in the start area. What he does have on his side, though, to his benefit, Kendall Westenberg, is he's got a lot of mass and he has no fear.
Yep. That's a good combination for skeleton.
He's heavy and he's fully lit and he's fully committed. He won't flinch if there's a hit coming. He'll take it. And look at that. That's a great exit from the Kreisel. 16th at the start, 1:18.0. That's about the second fastest. Little skid into 17. This is going to be a good run at the line. He is in 9th place. There's his dad, Mikhail.
Yeah, right in the middle of a whole grouping there.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see a number of other people kind of fall in that space.
And it's just that massive arm wrestling contest in the midfield, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll always have 3 or 4 at the front, 4 or 5 hanging out the back, and everybody else jockeying for position in the middle. Big smile on his face.
Yeah, that was a nice run. Beautiful exit at Kreisel. Great chicane. Carried speed through the bottom there.
Yeah, it's only really the little skid in 17 that kind of cost him. He might otherwise have picked up another place or two. Out of Echo.
Yeah, carries that nicely around Echo.
Nice start from Vladislav Hereskevich of the Ukraine. 9th place, halfway through our run. Well, next up is Yang Wengang of China. 10th World Cup start for him. 27th in the race here 2 years ago. So 9th fastest start, 4:69. Outstarting Hereskevich, who's just come down into the top 10 by a 1/10 of a second. That's a pretty nice looking exit, tiniest of touches.
1:12.2, decent speed in Kreisel.
Rattles the wall, 1/4 of a second back though. And if he can hold the speed, 1:17.2 is not bad at all. This should be firmly in the top 10. 1:08.2, somewhere among the top half dozen, and 7th at the line, 50.54. So comes down 400s quicker than Vladislav Hereskevich, having outstarted him by a 1/10. And that's the advantage of having a slightly cleaner labyrinth for Vlad. Just carrying a bit more speed to the line. Well, that's not a bad slide for somebody who was, what did I say, 27th in the field here 2 years ago.
Yeah, learning quick.
And Jan actually was in Winterberg a couple of weeks ago, racing in, I know it was earlier in the season, they raced the National Games of China races for the Chinese champion in Lillehammer pre-season, and to Chinese athletes, and particularly, Andy Schmidt was telling me, to the regions that support the athletes, that's as important as an Olympic Games. Well, next up is Amadeo Bagnis, 3rd World Cup for this young Italian, 20 years old. We saw his 19-year-old teammate make her debut this weekend. So we've had 3 new Italian skeleton sliders in this European campaign. We're only 4 races in. They're bringing on a new team, and they're all quick.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. The Italians are really putting together a team and showing some really solid results as well.
Most of their previous generation of sliders actually migrated to bobsleigh, so it's a whole new cadre. 400s off the lead. 3 World Cups in, just to remind you. Challenging the Olympic champion. All right, he's losing ground here in the labyrinth. But again, first of all, he starts quickly, and second, clearly he learns fast.
Definitely, it's all about stringing it together. You're going to see him pay pretty heavily for the hit where it was, but he was looking pretty good up until that point, so.
He was looking really good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Top 6 down the bend away, and if he'd judged that off the Kreisel just a fraction better, that would have been a big run. So in the Junior Worlds in February, he was in 18th place. He's in 16th here in a full World Cup field at the moment. He is definitely learning fast, but this is what undoes him. The 3rd pressure, and he doesn't quite get the exit he wants.
Yeah, takes that tap and then fading away from that first part of the chicane. Makes it hard. Yeah. Then you're going to whip into the second and then whip really hard into Kielstein.
And that's basically just taking lots of body blows from Mike Tyson, isn't it? That's not comfortable, and it just draws the speed out the sled. Well, next up, first of the US sliders, Austin Florian. Parents here this weekend again. They were in Innsbruck with him, and was chatting to them yesterday.
Yeah, always nice to have family along.
NAC champion 2 seasons ago, came onto the World Cup last year. This is his 13th World Cup start.
See Austin use that left groove. Put him out pretty nicely.
Yeah, got away without being spat off into the right-hand wall.
Yeah.
And that's personal preference. Often it happens to be whether you're right-handed or whether you're a southpaw, which hand you prefer to push with.
Yeah, and I think largely because of what you saw in the girls' race, you're going to see a little more use of the left groove than you usually do here.
Bit of a firm brush on the walls down the bend away. 1:11.2. Ooh. Now his first job here is to try and make the race, get into the second heat. And maybe like Savannah did in the women's race, climb the order a little. 1:05.9. 4Ks down in terms of pace, but where is he at the line? 17th, ahead of Alex Hansen and Jared Firestone. So 19 sliders down, he's got 2 behind him, and he's rated higher in the World Cup rankings than those who are coming, so he's pretty upset with that run. Got away from him down the bottom. And that's the issue here, particularly for the men's team, most of whom have only been here once or never, is just lack of knowledge of the track.
Yeah, we have a pretty young and World Cup experienced team right now, so just trying to get experience while you're on the World Cup is a difficult task and a tough way to learn sometimes, but doing a good job putting it together week after week, and decent exit of Chrysler of Echo there until lost it a little bit. But.
Yep. Well, below the Kreisel, it just drifted away from him. However, he is in the race at the moment. Next up, 20th place, Florian Auer. Just had a brief chat with Dad Christian, who was one of Austria's all-time great skeleton athletes. And Alexander Auer, his older brother, preceded him into World Cup sliding for Austria. Alex is now retired, but Florian very much still competing. 26th in the race here last time out, 2 years ago.
Yeah, Flo and Alex actually were on EC with me my first year of international touring, so gotten to race with him quite a bit and hang out in start houses and all that. They had a chipmunk, Mr. Boggles, who unfortunately has passed, but lived a good life.
Yeah. 1:11.6, pretty decent speed. Could be aiming for a top 15 run here. 17th at the start, but he's improving on that, and that was a good run through the labyrinth.
Yeah, 1:17 speed at the bottom too, so if he can...
Just avoids the skid. Out of 17, final corner's heel curve. Where is he going to be? 14. Oh, inside the 15, that's a good run. 50.77, he is 7900s back. Marcus Wyatt in front of him, 7800s back. And behind him is Jung Seng-gui of Korea, who is 400s behind him. So, again, shaping up all those tight battles.
Yeah, definitely. Good to see Flo getting a number of second runs here. He seems to be finding a little bit of a groove.
Yeah. Getting the form together, working on it. He missed the cut in Innsbruck, unfortunately, but that's the only time he's been out of the top 20 all year long. Now I'm looking at the wrong results. He made the cut in Innsbruck. He missed the cut in both races in Lake Placid, but since we came to Europe, he's been in the top 20.
Yeah, and that goes back to that track knowledge, right? Not as much time in North America as he has in Europe.
Sunbin Young leads, and we have 10 to go. Kevin Boyer, Canada.
I love that headshot.
Yeah. Definitely a real character. 477 getaway. Now he has to bump somebody out of the race, and the somebody he has to bump is Jared Firestone, our first starter. Now for the remaining 10 athletes, including Boyer, they have to fight somebody else out of the race to get a second heat. And right now, off the 16th fastest start, he is in 17th place, so he's in the race as he gets to the Kreisel. And just about nudges it through the doodles.
Yeah, he's having a nice looking run. I'm scared of this commentator's curse now, but he's putting it together here, so see if he can make a move for that second heat.
Well, he's in 17th at the line, 16th at the line, squeezes in front of Sebastian Ash of Romania. So Jared Firestone is resigned to no second heat, but at the moment Kevin Boyer is in, not yet safe. Coach Harry Benotis there at the bottom with the sled helping out. Little toe tapping there, trying to stop the sled getting too high, and then trying to time that exit.
Yeah, you see him work a little bit there to try and squeak around that wall. Gets it together really nicely, though.
So it looks so easy at slow speed, at quarter speed. How you do that in real life, I can't imagine. So Kevin Boyer is in for the moment. And we continue down our list with our 22nd starter, Manuel Sferza from Italy. 23 years old, only his 13th World Cup.
Yeah, another Italian program that's coming in. Some knowledge of this track, right?
Yeah, he's had one World Cup race here, finished 26th. He was 13th in the Junior Worlds, but he did race here in Intercontinental Cup in December as well, finished 10th in what was a pretty strong field there. So you can see the progression has been strong. Now, the real problem for Sferza is his new young teammate, Amedeo Bagnis, coming along and suddenly being right breathing down his neck. 109.3, that's not great speed, Manuel Sferza. 21st at the start is actually dropping back.
Yeah, he's got to find something here. He's going to find himself on the outside of that second heat cut.
Yeah, 115.8. Not sure there's enough. Hits the wall as well, coming into 17. And that is going to rob him of the speed he needed. 20th at the line, he's just in ahead of Alex Hansen of Norway. It's going to be a long time waiting for the next 8 sleds. It's long, 15 minutes, yeah.
16
yeah. 16 minutes, that's an entire season of sliding. You do know that, don't you?
I do, all too well.
A whole World Cup season, 16 minutes of sliding. It doesn't get too bad of a brush there, but he's working hard. You saw the elbow come out.
Kind of triple taps that left wall.
Yeah.
Barely misses, maybe nudges the right, and then
maybe just gone with a
Kreisel, but
little too much control in the step. It didn't really have speed at the Kreisel either, did he?
No.
Manuel Sferza in the race for now. Sammy Meyer of Austria, 7th World Cup start, 20 years old. Uncle Sammy. And best World Cup race for him, 13th place in Innsbruck last year. Still his debut is his best race. 5th in the Junior Worlds here in February 2019. He's also raced here a couple of times in Europa Cup, so does know the track.
Fighting that right groove again. Probably won't be the last of this heat to do it.
Yeah. Well, 4:88 start leaves him in 23rd place. Doesn't come from a sprinting or throwing background. He was a weightlifter before he came to skeleton.
We don't get a ton of those, but him and Vlad both were.
Yeah. Still 23rd place. 1:11.8 though, that's good speed, good form as well. Oh! And I was just about to say, this could see him into the race. He is in 20th place at the moment. 1:15.5 is still good speed for this end of the field. Another skid. Come on, Sammy, I'm trying to talk you in. You're trying to drive yourself out. At the line, though, he is in 18th, 51.08. So, yeah, kind of got squirrely at the bottom, but he didn't panic, and all that Innsbruck training, hold your form, hold your form, hold your form.
Paying off.
Yeah. So, Sammy Meyer is in, he's 18th. Amedeo Bagnis, 19th. Austin Florian, 20th. Manuel Sferza is out. Well, good second pressure, but the sled is driving him a little. And then here we go. Ah,
Yeah.
rats.
Just that direction, again, makes that second one so tough to get through and not cut a ton of ice. And then you just get whipped into Kielstein a little bit.
Just had a brief chat with his dad, Manny Meyer, the Austrian bobsled coach. Benny's not here sliding this weekend. Next up, Andrew Plaza. Well, final day of training, he got the high jump award for the biggest loops in the Kreisel. Let's see if he can get it down into the race. 4:74 now, that gives him what he needs at the start.
Yeah, Blazer has a very competitive start. We'll see what he can do here. He's new to this track, so learning a lot really quickly on this tour and again at the World Cup level, but he's doing really well here right now.
Yeah, he goes into his bag of notes and setup sheets, and it's just blank pieces of paper. And you know, and we talked about this before, and we will again. But there is only one way of learning these tracks, and that is to race them.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yikes!
I think that was 2 runners.
However, with the big start that he had, he is still in the race at the moment. Has he got enough speed? Head up just to try and get the line right and avoid the rub. 1:04.2. It's going to be very close, but not quite enough. 11 hundredths behind Austin Florian, his teammate.
Man, he was putting it together there through the top section.
Yeah.
That's this track, though, right?
It's so often, isn't it? You know, above the Chrysler, you're great. Below, you know, you either are or you're in a horror story.
Silver Lake Elementary School.
Little elementary school shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that's.
Yeah.
Yep. And then off this second one, he really.
Worstest.
Yeah, that's 2 runners off. So the non-friction line doesn't always create speed.
No. And the wall cam there shows just how much he is elevated.
Yeah. His helmet has a bunch of snakes on it, though.
Yeah.
He got a nickname in our first year of sliding because he had these snakeskin tights that he kept wearing, so we call him the Ice Snake.
Oh, we need to bring those back. I need to be seeing those.
It's okay that they were retired, I think.
All right, okay. Well, here is his teammate, Alex Ivanov. 6 World Cup for him as well as Andrew. They both started in Lake Placid this year. And since they left North America, they are in a knowledge-free zone. Just avoids the wall.
Yeah, Alex has spent a couple seasons on EC and ICC, so has a little more knowledge than Andrew coming into this week, but had a strange week of training. Had to sit out a couple days, so
last
he's
time
really
here,
good.
2016. How much does it come back? Maybe not quite enough. Let's see what he's got. 25th at the start. 110.3, that's not bad. 11 would have been a little bit more helpful, but if he sneaks it through here, can he find any more places?
114.4.
Yeah, 118.5 is the top speed. Picks up 24th place, closing in, but not enough to get him into the race. 51.57 for Alex Ivanov. So on the bobble at the moment is Austin Florian of the USA, Andrew Blaser 21st, Manuel Schwerzer 22nd, Alex Hansen 23rd, Alex Ivanov 24th, Jared Firestone 25th. Top 20 go through. Again, holding his form, just dragging that toe to stop it hitting the roof on the second pressure.
Yeah, and with the ice sped up like it was today, if you don't have the runs everyone else has when the ice is continually speeding up, it makes it tough to catch up to pace. But Alex does a good job threading it through there and into Kielstein.
See now, if he'd been able to hand that to Andrew Blaser, and he'd had Blaser's top half, who knows? Sombignon, Alexander Tretiakov, Gungweng Chang are top 3. 5 sliders to go to make the race, and this is the 85th World Cup start for Ander Mirambel, his first this season, the newly crowned North America's Cup champion in men's skeleton. 5:03. Also become a new dad, hosting a new TV show in Spain as well as working for Espanyol, Barcelona football team, and La Liga, Spain's national football league.
Yeah, I don't know if he's busy enough, huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
Throw a kid into the mix.
Well, St. Moritz, he's racing in St. Moritz, then flying home to Espanyol's next home game, where he will be presented with the North America's Cup trophy on the field. So, yeah, just enough going on.
Yeah. Nice looking there. Kreisel there.
Let's see if he's got enough speed on board. 1:15.3, that's not bad. A lot of scratching going on. That was helmet rather than toe dragging. 1:05.9, not going to be close enough to make the heat. Not enough. 23rd place. And there is his coach, Martin Rettel.
Hands in the outrun. Yikes.
Yes, I've seen wrists broken there. Hello, Emma Lincoln-Smith. How are you? Well, not here, actually. She did it in the lumpy, bumpy ice in Winterberg one year.
Casi.
And
La próxima.
close. Again, he's got lots of World Cup experience, but not quite so much in the last couple of seasons. Spent a lot of time in North America. He's now also created a new Spanish skeleton team. They got half a dozen athletes that are starting their sliding careers this year.
Yeah, he's doing a great job with that. Same as the Italians, bringing a lot of talent in and exposing them to the sport, getting them experience.
So that's like his 7th job.
Yeah, something like that.
I know.
Yeah.
Taking multitasking to a whole new level.
Definitely.
Okay, 4 to go. Kyle Murray of Canada next up. 8th World Cup start for him, 30 years old, and has not raced on this track before. And it's sort of that World Cup year, really. We're 2 years out from the Games at the end of this season, and this is the time to bring in new sliders if you're going to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Get them some experience. It's a different thing when all of a sudden there are cameras and lights at the track and spectators watching.
Headshots and giffies and pressure. You know, racing with peers is one thing, but racing against the best on the planet, who've got 15 years more experience than you, that takes it to a whole new level.
Definitely.
But you've got to have those goals, got to have those targets. Little strike on the first part of the chicane. So Kyle Murray was driving himself up for a 24 fastest start, 1:11.8, not bad. But he's drifting away now, and this is going to be behind Alex Ivanov of the USA. 26th place for Kyle Murray. John Farrow, the coach, he's been working with the development teams in North America's Cup. And a 51.84 slide for Kyle. So again, for Kyle, his European season has been tough work. 22nd in Winterberg, 25th in La Plagne, 23rd in Innsbruck.
Yeah, has a tough time at Bendaway there, getting the sled to go where he wants it to.
Yeah. And it's when you see mere mortals sliding this track that you realise what the gods of sliding really do when they make it look so straightforward.
Yeah.
And Kyle Murray from Canada will watch the second heat and add a little bit more knowledge to his European track list. 3 to go. Ronnie Oddisett of Switzerland, 23rd in the last race here. His best result, though, 18th place a couple of years earlier. 37th World Cup of the season of his career for Ronnie, but only his 3rd of the season. Fighting it like everybody is out of that groove.
Yep.
Be less of an issue for the bobsleighs that use both grooves. So 24th at the start. Now he needs to use his experience.
Runs it through there. 1:11.1 coming into Kreisel.
All right, that's not too bad. We've seen a lot worse speed. This could be a top 20 run for Ronnie Oddisett. If he gets a nice clean labyrinth, that's pretty decent. Don't skid it here now. 1:16.5. That's quicker than a few we've seen recently. The noise was the chin on the ice. He's believing it, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is he in? Is he out?
Oh,
he's in. He's in. The moment he exited the Kreisel, he must have thought, I've got this. Don't give it away. So Ronnie Oddisett makes the race and bumps out. Who was that?
Austin Florian.
Austin Florian. And we have a tie for 19th now with Sammy Meyer and Amadeo Banyas. Well done, Ronnie. And his teammate there, Marina Gilardoni, helping with the sled.
Yeah, looking really good coming out of S4 there. Locked in, picks his spot and bend away and takes the tap.
And that really was just a tiny tap. And this is the key, isn't it? This is what he got right.
Yep, and he did it just within that line.
Yeah.
Carries that speed through to the bottom section.
Nice stuff. Ronnie Oddisett is in the race at the moment, and we have 2 on the bubble and 2 to go. So, 3rd World Cup of Brendan Doyle's career. 34-year-old from Dublin. Came here in the Worlds in 2017. That's when we first met him at the senior level. He also raced here in December, didn't do the North American tracks. He spent the last 2 or 3 seasons predominantly in North America. And oddly for an Irish slider who's from Ireland rather than Boston, doesn't know the European tracks well.
Yeah, it's another person in that year 2 of the quad trying to get experience.
Yeah.
it's definitely a tough thing to do week in and week out. You know, you're battling, trying to learn, and also compete at the same time.
And when you're in a team of one, trying to coach yourself, train yourself, work with other athletes, work with other coaches to try and improve your performance and get your sled set up right.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot all of it.
Yeah, talks a little bit about this with Kelly Delka from Puerto Rico in a women's race, you know, where when you are working on your own, there's an awful lot more questions and answers. Oh, big height in 16. And Brendan Doyle at the line in 27th place, so behind Alex Ivanov, but ahead of Kyle Murray and Jared Firestone. So 51.74 slide for him. Again, adding to his knowledge of these tracks all the way through this World Cup season. And the single athletes always try and buddy up with a team here or there, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. For some video footage and someone else just to compare yourself to occasionally.
Yeah.
See
A bit of moral support as well, you know.
Also that, yeah.
Particularly when you're in a team of one.
Yep.
You know, it's your peers that are often your lifeline as well.
Yeah, and you only get 6 runs of training down most tracks each week on the World Cup level, so the more times you can see it and ask someone else what they're doing, the more experience you're gaining.
So Brendan Doyle of Ireland, his run is done, and our final slider, returning to World Cup action, Artem Drozdov, 3rd World Cup of his career, best result, 17th place in Samoritz a couple of seasons ago. His World Cup debut was here in January 2017, where he finished 25th.
Another person that chose to use the left groove, but he looked like he had a little trouble keeping that one straight out of there as well.
482, started a fraction slower than Brendan Doyle of Ireland. Well, is he going to be able to drive himself into the race? He's picked up a couple of spots.
Nice bend away.
110.8, 111 would definitely be more helpful. And
Hangs on to it.
well, we've seen Martins Ducours do that before, and land on his back, so that is by no means only a lack of experience on the part of Artem Drozdov. However, that won't help him now. The fact that Martins Ducours can make a worse mistake doesn't make yours feel any better, I don't think.
That is correct.
Yeah. And you see the difference those collisions make in terms of lack of speed. He's not flying up the hill here, he's just rolling gradually up.
Yeah, that after Echo on, it's uphill from there, so
Yeah.
if you're not carrying the speed through that corner, it's compounding.
Again, once you're wrong in here, it doesn't get better, does it?
No, there's not really pressure to work against in these, so you're kind of just at the mercy of what your line is.
Yeah, the walls just come at you.
And then the walls, yeah, are just there as well.
Yeah. Oh, and another replay, because it'll look so much better from this angle. It's just... and you just... This one,
Yeah,
that's the big hit.
Because you're at an angle coming into it, your sled is leaning, but does a really good job hanging on there. It's harder than it looks to stay on that sled, but recovers well and manages to drive it through the bottom decently after hits like that.
So Artem Drozdov brings our first heat to an end here in Königssee. And it is Sun Bin-yun of Korea on one of the few tracks on which he has not won, who is our race leader. Pretty impressive looking first heat, wasn't it? And there was the key to the speed at the bottom.
Yeah, just putting on a clinic there. That's really well done.
But he's got to go back and do it again.
He does.
That's the tricky part.
Not guaranteed here.
Yeah, not guaranteed at all. So our leaderboard, Sun Bin-yun is 1700s ahead of Alexander Chechikov. Geng Wengchang of China in 3rd place, 900s ahead of last time's winner Axel Jung. Martins Ducours is close behind him. Alexander Gassner in 6th position. And then everyone else. I mean, really, you know, I thought the women's race was close. Last weekend was close. La Plagne was insane. This is going to be another real tight one. And a tie for 19th place. So They will be in Ronnie Alderset, Sammy Meyer and Amadeo Banyas, Austin Florian, and those below will join us and you, hopefully, trackside to watch the second and deciding heat here. The sleds will be back. We will be back at 5:15 local. That is 16:15 Greenwich Mean Time. That's actually acceptable time, Eastern. Join Kendall Westenberg, me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew for the second heat. Auf Wiedersehen for now.